Hey, what is up, YouTube? Enforcer5150 here, and what we're going to do today is we're going to do some benchmarks and all that other good stuff for Battlefield 5. And that's what the HP-Omen that has the i7 8750H and it has the GTX 1060. So what I'm going to actually bring up right away is that the video I'm using right now is what happens when you don't plug in the dang laptop. Your memory RAM goes down and everything just runs like crap. Anyway, let's get to some of the things I want to cover first, which is there is a thing that is on here called future frame rendering. You want this thing on, however, it will give you some kind of lag, so you want to kind of avoid that. You want to try it out first, see how it works before you try doing it in multiplayer, and trying to do a little bit of competitive stuff. As you see here, when it is off, I'm getting like 85 frames per second. Right? I mean, that's actually pretty decent for this laptop. And what it's doing is pre-rendering everything. But if we go ahead and we turn off that future rendering, whatever it's called, future frame rendering. So if we actually turn that off, it's actually going to cut down the frames per second by almost 30. I mean, look at that. We're getting 55, 54, 60s. Yeah, it's definitely way lower, but like I said, you do get a little bit more lag to it, and on the laptop, for me, it was pretty damning. I really couldn't get too far with it, and I couldn't really get my shots off because it was just a little bit behind. You really don't notice it most of the time, but I was kind of noticing it on like when I was going down on aiming and everything else. Anyway, let's go ahead and get to the actual benchmarks, or I should just say the gameplay that we're kind of looking at, the frames per second. Also, I wanted to also mention that the DirectX 11 is what we're going to be using mostly through this video, mainly because DirectX 12 is just terrible with Battlefield and the Battlefield series and EA. They're terrible with it. It wasn't actually too bad on here. It worked pretty well. I did notice that the future frame rendering didn't do any difference. It didn't make a difference when I was in DirectX 12, so maybe it's only in the DirectX 11 thing, they just don't have it so that it shuts off. Anyway, as you see, we went into 1080p and we're going to be at Ultra, and then we're going to go ahead and do a little bit of the gameplays and just see how the performance is and frames per second we can actually see getting out of the HP-Omen. So we're going to start at the top of the hill here. This is the second single player map that they give you. As you see at the top here, we get about 55 frames per second, or sorry, 55 to 60 frames per second. I didn't hit my benchmark by accident. I don't know why. I was just getting some of these things done, but I do jump up pretty high into like 70s, so I'm like sticking in the mid 50s to 60s. When we start getting down the hill, it starts going down. It's a little fluctuating. I mean, but really for a laptop running this at Ultra and 1080p, this is not too bad at all. For 1060, I think that's actually pretty good. I didn't see that much of a difference when I went on DirectX 12, even though normally you'll get a judder, basically where the video will stop and kind of like skip. I really didn't see too much of that. So once I got up here and started playing the actual game, it started staying around the 50 to 55 mark. It really didn't get any further up. I would say more of an average of 55. And we're just going to go ahead and skip ahead to some of the lighting effects, because that's what we really want to see, because that's where Battlefield's really damn on your computer. So I went ahead and made sure I went through like this lighting area each time, just to make sure that I kind of got the lighting effects. And I also took the Jeep there because the light from the Jeep and pretty much all the effects off the lighting definitely has a little toll on your GPU. As you see there, instantly I jumped down about 10 frames per second, and it's about consistent with most of the game, different parts of the game, stuff like that. Whenever there's lighting around, it definitely drops down about 10 frames per second. That's why I picked this map to go ahead and do that. But as you can see here, for the little bit that I played, I got a low of 43, I'm getting an average of 51, and a max of 62. So we went ahead and set it to high, and really I didn't see that much of a difference when I went from high to ultra. It's really close, and it's kind of annoying, but you know, it looks really good as well. I mean, you'll notice that maybe I'll get about 4 to 5 frames per second more, and I mean, if you really want to get that much closer to 60 frames per second, then you know, by all means, you know, go ahead and run, you know, the high. But if you look closely, I mean, it's not really that much different than the ultra settings that we were seeing. We're gonna go ahead and jump right to the lighting area, and I choose this spot mainly because it seems to be the one area where I see the most you know, performance, you know, either gap or I'd say dip, because as soon as that light goes on, as you see again, I jump down about 5 frames per second, and it's definitely doing a little bit better than it was on ultra, but not by very much. We're looking at like 51 before, and now we have like, you know, 50, you know, 55, 57 frames per second on this one. So what we got here is we got a 45 low, we have a 58 average, and a top of 73, and that's the benchmark that I start running after I get to the guy on the tower by the tower. So let's go ahead and switch this down to another setting. So we're going to go ahead and set it to medium. Medium is actually the default that it's set to when you first boot up the game. So it basically detects that medium is probably your most preferred setting. And actually, I liked having it in medium. I didn't notice that much of a difference in the actual frames per second, or not the frame, but the actual visuals. I mean, it still looks great. But the frames per second is definitely a lot better. It consistently stays over 60 frames per second. So you're going to want to have VSync on, because, you know, once it starts dipping and stuff like that, you're going to start getting tearing and shearing on your monitor a little bit, because there is no G-Sync on this laptop. So really, I want to say that, you know, this is probably really your best setting to go at if you want to stay over 60 frames per second. Let's go ahead and check out the lighting a little bit, because that's, you know, more what we're concerned about right now, because that's where it's been dipping the most. All right, so here we are again with the you know, lit up area, and like I said, I did play some of the, you know, more daylight, you know, maps and stuff like that, and I get a lot of the same frames per second. There's really no difference. That's why I chose this map that has a little bit of lighting in it, where it's actually using, you know, lighting where it's trying to bounce off, you know, things. And, you know, there's supposed to be ray tracing in this game, so when that comes up, that's going to be another story with my RTX card. Yeah, anyway, as you see, we did drop down again, but we didn't get too bad. It just dropped down to 62 compared to the 51 we got on maximum, and 54 to 57, I think it was, on the high settings. But as you can tell, basically in that area that I've been doing it, we got an average of 75, we got a low of 62, and we got a high of 182. So that's kind of like where I started out. But we'll kind of more look at the average there of 75, and that high of 180 or 102, I think that is. Sorry, the high of 102 was kind of kicking up the average a lot more. Now, I didn't go all the way back and do the whole, you know, basically trying to benchmark it again, you know, starting from the beginning on the low settings, but and actually put on VSync. But it definitely has a lot of, you know, performance gain. On the laptop itself, the graphics don't look that bad. When you connect up to something, though, it definitely, you know, can be noticed. Like, as I'm doing the recordings and stuff like that, I definitely notice the difference between the high and low, or I'd say even medium and low. There's definitely a big difference as far as, you know, the edges and everything else. But anyway, I played at this for a little bit, and I got over 100 frames per second in a lot of spots. If you're connecting to using the display port and connecting to an external monitor, that might be a good idea to go ahead and use this. Anyway, this is where I'm going to leave this video. Remember, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, go ahead and leave that in the comments section, and I'll make sure I get to it as soon as I can. Sometimes I get to it right away. Sometimes it may take me a little bit. Sometimes your thing may end up in the spam, and I might not get it for a month, but I do always try to make sure I get back to it. And I'm sorry for those that actually happened to. That was completely my fault. I never really checked the spam filter sometimes. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for watching this video. Make sure you smash that like button and definitely subscribe if you're new to the channel. You all have a great day and happy gaming. So if you actually watched this video all the way through and you got to the bonus content right here, that means you have a chance to go ahead and win $20 gift card. I know it's not much, but remember, I'm just a single YouTuber. Anyway, if you go ahead and put in Enforcers Gamer in the comments with either Origin or Steam, after that you will get an Origin or Steam gift card for $20, and that you can use on whatever the hell game you want, or just hold on to it. So you have 72 hours to go ahead and put that comment in, or it's all over. I'm going to announce the winner on Friday's video. It's only for you people that have actually watched this video this far and got to the bonus content. Anyway, you all have a great day and happy gaming.